If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by portrait photography, or just at a loss of what to focus on to take you to that next level, then come hang with me. I help guide portrait photographers just like you to stay clear and sharp in camera and with your goals. I'm your host, photographer, educator, and weirdly positive mama for Emily Supio. And this is the Stay Focused podcast. Photography advice to help you stay focused. Well, hey everyone, I am Emily Supio, and thank you so much for pressing play on today's episode of the Stay Focused podcast. Today, we have a special guest on the show that's actually been on the show now more than any other person, I'm pretty sure. Heather Chesky is with us today. And if you guys don't know Heather, she is all kinds of wonderful and she knows her stuff when it comes to starting to make money with your photography. She is a business coach for photographers just like you. So if you've ever thought, yeah, I'd like to take my photography passion, I would like to take all of these things that I've been learning and actually make some money, then you're going to absolutely love today's episode. But before I bring Heather on, since it is October, and if you listened to last week's episode, it was our first spooky episode, our scary episode to get us in the season for Halloween, for fall, for October, and it in a really cheesy way though. And we're going to keep up that theme on this week's episode because we're going to be talking again about something very scary that happened to Heather, something very scary that could happen to you when you start a photography business. And that's all going to make sense in just a few minutes when I bring Heather on. But just get ready for this spooky, scary episode. But you're also going to learn a lot of stuff too. And like I said, spooky in a cheesy way. So if you're thinking, okay, I'd love to make money with photography, but I'm not quite there yet with my photography skills, well, I have got something pretty cool just for you. You can head over to the Cozy Clicks online photography school website, cozyclicks.com/handbook, and download yourself a free copy of my manual mode handbook. This is going to get you started in the right direction so that your pictures are clear, crisp, in focus, and so that you can gain more creative control over your images so that one day you can actually make money with photography. So make sure to download that at cozyclicks.com/handbook. All right, you guys, I have Heather Chesky on with us today. Hey, Heather, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad to be here again.
Now, a lot of you probably remember Heather from some of our past episodes. Heather, you are like a veteran to our show. I think now you may be the number one most interviewed person on the show now. I think this is what, the third time on the show?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So Heather has all kinds of great information. And if you have not heard one of Heather's past episodes here, Heather, I want you to just introduce yourself real quick and tell people, you know, who it is you are.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll give the Cliff Note version. So basically, I got my start as a photographer way back in high school. Loved it. Did it as a side thing for many, many years. Started a family, and one day I went into work, and my boss was like, "Hey, we got to let you go." And so I left that job with zero income, and was like, "Oh man, like." I got to replace my income. And at the time we had a little baby who was 8 months old. I was like, well, maybe, just maybe I can make my photography my full-time gig. And so I pursued that hardcore. That first year in business, I actually more than doubled the salary that I lost, which was really incredible. And I've just learned and continued to grow. I've failed many times as well, but that's actually one of the best ways to learn. So that has been now a process of 10 years as a full-time photographer. And in the last few years, I've also started to help coach other photographers who want to make money with their passion and actually contribute to their family finances.
And I think a lot of people, a lot of newer photographers, maybe they don't realize it right at the beginning, because I know a lot of you are beginners that listen to this show, but I think that somewhere in the back of your head, you've got this idea that it would be kind of cool to make money
Yes.
with photography. And I love that you help coach and help make those dreams a reality for people.
Yes.
And Heather, so I'm going to kind of guide this conversation in a little bit of a different way. And I know that when we had chatted earlier, you said you're an open book and you'll talk about whatever. Okay.
Sure.
So I have followed Heather also on social media for a long time. You know, I've seen her on Instagram and I see her posts pop up all the time. And I knew that I was going to be chatting with Heather for this episode, and we were going to be talking about business. And I remember, like, I wasn't seeing your posts at all. Like, I started to think, like, okay, I haven't said, like, did she just give up on Instagram? Did she give up on social media? Because I know you had talked about one of the things about business is not relying on social media. And so I thought, well, why isn't she on anymore? Did she just, like, is she just going with what
I vanished?
But you didn't. You're on there. I found you again because something happened to you.
Correct. Yes, that is correct.
Can you explain, please, what went on?
Yes. So this has happened actually a few times before. So this is not a first instance. But basically my Instagram about 2 months ago was hacked. And I lost everything. And at that time I had, almost 9,000 followers. I had a lot of of course, my past clients, current clients that I'm communicating with. It was a big source of just how I do business. And, like every photographer, basically every human, being on social media is important. We like to see what's going on. We like to engage. We like to share. Like Instagram is a big part of my business. But one day I tried to log on and I couldn't, and I tried again, I couldn't. And basically, after a few days of trying and failing, I realized, okay, I'm just not going to be able to recover my Instagram. I went through the whole process with Facebook, and it was a waste of time because I still don't have that old Instagram again. So basically, I, again, am a firm believer with not relying on one thing for everything. No, don't put all your eggs in one basket, because things like Facebook and Instagram, we really do not own. A lot of us recognize that the algorithm changes, so that might mess with our engagement and our reach. But then also too, there's hackers out there, and I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but like, you literally might be next. There's no way to know it. I mean, I never expected that to happen. So basically, I restarted Instagram. I did lose a ton of content, which is a shame. However, because I've been so adamant about growing other areas in my business didn't suffer because I lost Instagram. It was a huge inconvenience for sure, but it didn't like break the bank. I didn't like lower, my bookings didn't lower at all. I was still able to operate even without that.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing. And I kind of knew that about you, that was your message, not to rely on one thing and not to rely super heavily on, your one social media account.
Right.
But like, how does that even happen? Did you put your password in somewhere weird that you remember, or it just like all of a sudden?
I couldn't even tell you. I mean, it was just completely random. Because I believe like whoever hacked it changed my profile name, and who knows what else they did. They changed the password. So like, I literally couldn't get in, but I could see what they changed my profile name to, but I couldn't change anything. So it was just, well, I got to let it go.
Yeah. Like, that's scary, you guys. So if you are thinking about starting a photography business, like, really, it could happen. Like, it happened to you. You had tons of followers, and tons of content too. So maybe too, just have that be a reminder to back up the things that you create too. Cause I know Instagram is super heavy into reels and video content now. So while I know you guys probably have your photos backed up, if you're not backing that video content out that you're sharing with your potential clients, it could be
A huge
Gone.
headache.
Oh no, and that actually I really wanted to chat with you about that, but I thought other people would be curious about that too, because I think about that a lot. Like I've put so much time into my Instagram and I connect with people on there. And if it was just gone one day, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's
Yes.
scary. So you've got to have another way to grow your business.
Sure.
Like we keep saying, it can't just be one thing, can't be Instagram, just Instagram. So do you have any like advice for people who are just starting
Sure.
out, what they
Yes.
should focus on?
Yes, absolutely. So and this is something that I did early on in my business too. But I am a huge believer of like growing your email list. I've always kind of like had that in me, even though like I could throw out a word like a CRM management system and it might go over your head because I didn't understand it until much later on in business. But if nothing else, have an Excel file with your client's name or even like an inquiry's name, their email, their phone number, and then just any other details that you need to know about them. That would be the most basic, simplest way to approach this. And then just gradually add on to that as you get more inquiries, as you get more bookings, and then at least you have that. And then, if you want to grow your email list and build that out and then start sending, bi-weekly or weekly emails, that's like a whole other ball game, which is definitely helpful. And I definitely recommend, but we have to start in stages.
And I think that's so true. And I'm glad that you said that right from the beginning, because I hear so many, just not just photography business coaches, but just any kind of business that you want to have say, push the email list, get the email list. And you may have even heard that too,
Yes.
that you need to start your email list, but it's very, very intimidating when you hear that, because automatically you're like, well, what program do I use?
Yes,
How do I send that out? What do I say? Like it's so overwhelming that I think a lot of newer photographers or just newer business owners in general are just like, oh, okay, maybe that's not for me. I'm not a big business yet. But I love that you said, just keep it simple. And just like you guys said, just as people are emailing you, keep a collection of their email. And you know what? I do a lot of, work with the students. I probably worked with a lot of you too, but I still am a portrait photographer. I still work here in Phoenix with a lot of clients. And I'm not always sending out these mass emails to them, but I have their emails down because I know some of them like book with me every October. And if I don't hear from them, I'm just sending them out a quick email and I can find their profile where I've saved their things. And I can just say, hey, you booked with me over the past 10 years. I want to make sure that I get you in during this time. And usually they're very thankful and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot. I want to make sure I get that weekend spot in. So having an email list doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing these, big newsletters and flyers and you need to make content. It's about just being real with people and personal with people and having that connection and that way to connect with people.
Absolutely. It's about just honestly just building the relationship and then using email as a tool to use that. And then like at the same time, like I look back over my years too, where it's just like there have been seasons where I'll just send my clients a text message just to check in, or like, it's a follow up if they mentioned wanting to book a session, they hadn't yet done it, just to follow up with that. So like even just sending a text message can be valuable, and you're not relying on social media or you're an algorithm, or you don't have the headache of, designing a beautiful email and opt-in rates and whatever. It's just literally sending a text message.
Yeah, I love that too. And I do that too with some of my clients, not necessarily the ones that are brand new, because I kind of try to feel out what way they like to communicate. But yeah, with like some of my clients that I've worked with a long time, we text too. Not text all the time like, hey, what are you doing? Or things like that. But we use it as a tool to communicate. And I like that. Like social media and things like Instagram are really cool and a really cool way to kind of find new people, but to really build those relationships with potential clients, things like texting and email is way better. And like, well, you could get hacked on your email, I guess, if you don't hear it as
even
much.
Still, like if you back it up and like if you have an Excel file saved to your computer or backed up to like the cloud, like hopefully not all of those will fail all at the same time. You can at least access that in a different format somewhere else.
Yeah, but it's not like you're losing. It wouldn't be so devastating if all your clients and everything, every way you had ever connected with was on one social media platform. So kind of spreading it out like that, I think is a good way, and not being afraid to do that. either. I
Right.
think that a lot of people just get afraid of that, email, text, that personal connection, but those are the connections that's going to help amplify business, right?
Absolutely. And honestly, I have found that it's those, I'll even throw in this, which might be scary too, where it's just like those text messages, those emails, and then even calling your client can be a huge thing that sets you apart from every other photographer who's too afraid to do that. So a perfect example of this is for the majority of my business, I require, phone consultations for somebody who wants to book me. I don't necessarily allow it on my website unless it's like a repeat client and I already have worked with them, but I like to actually have that call process with them. And because I do that, my booking, my booking conversions are really high because I take the time to communicate with them. I find out what they need, what it is that they want. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from people who booked me and have said like, thank you. Like you're the only photographer who is willing to hop on the phone and explain this to me. And they're so appreciative of that. And again, like you don't need social media for that.
Yeah. I love that you said that because I have heard like the same exact thing from so many clients, and especially like I don't want to say old people, but like older people. And I mean, you guys, I'm 44, so I feel like I'm in that.
You don't look like it at all.
That old school like telephone, that the telephone communication times. But people they will tell me, that they appreciated the phone call. They appreciate to talk with somebody beforehand because then it puts a real person behind who they're going to book with. So they feel more comfortable, like putting their credit card in to, put a deposit down or to actually pay you, or they start to understand a little bit more about how your session is run. Right. And I get it. It's scary to do the whole phone call thing, especially when it seems so easy just to email, but some people kind of need that. And what I find too, is those people that like that phone call, a lot of times they don't even have social media. A lot of my clients, they're not all on Instagram or, they look up things on Google and then they just want to connect with the person. They don't want to connect with a influencer that's out there or, that's not what they want. That's not what they want.
Sometimes I think photographers make Instagram to be more of a big deal than what it actually really is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that too. And I've also kind of, if we've been talking about Instagram a lot, and this is just kind of off the top of my head now, but a mistake I see a lot of newer photographers make with their Instagram is not really targeting clients in their area, but targeting photographers and like sharing photography tips or photography, things that are going to get like engagement from other photographers and not necessarily families or seniors or maternity clients. And so they're trying to build this influencer platform that isn't what it really should be for a photography business.
Well, it's not for their ideal clients.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're not building a platform that will speak to your ideal client, there's going to be a huge disconnect and then you won't get inquiries.
Yeah. And you know what? It's a disconnect for me too, because there were some photographers that I would follow just because either they were in the area or I just really liked their work and I would like to see their pictures pop up. But then all of a sudden I see they're like sharing these tips and talking to photographers. And I'm like, oh, are they doing, are they teaching classes now? Or do they offer resources? And I look at their profile and nope, they're just booking, I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here.
Right.
I don't get it. So yeah, it makes a disconnect, but it does on the other way too. That person that wants to book you, that family or that high school senior that wants to book you, if you're not talking to them, they're going to have that, the same way I feel, that just disconnect, like what's happening here with this one.
Right.
So yeah, good stuff today, Heather. I love everything you're sharing with us. Any last words of advice you have for those people that are looking to, dive into this business world?
Yeah, I would honestly just say that usually the simplest answer is the right answer. Like we do not need to overcomplicate things at all by any means. I have found like just even speaking of like marketing, like my simplest marketing has been the most effective. My simplest pricing model has been the most profitable. Like in anything that you're doing, keeping things simple will just help alleviate whatever stress or pressure you might feel. And also it's going to make it easier for your clients and your prospects to move forward or book you or pay more, because you're making things clear and simple. So, I mean, I think in terms of what we were talking about here, if nothing else, just start an Excel file with your prospect or client's name, email, phone number, and then a few details about the family or the session that they're hiring you for. And then that's it until you get that nailed down. Then if at some point later on you want to add on an email list and be more robust with it, that's fine, but keep it simple first, master that, and then add on.
Love it. That's golden information, you guys, golden advice, just to keep things simple. And I totally agree with that too, because that's kind of the way I teach when I'm just teaching all of you how to take great pictures. It's all about just keeping things simple and not trying to pull from everywhere and trying to, grab onto every strategy and figure everything out. So same with your business. Right. Now, Heather, I know a while back you had offered some free challenges, free trainings. You have all kinds of stuff for photographers that are listening. What's going on with you right now? Well, what do you have going on?
So it's funny you asked that, Emily, because when I lost my Instagram, I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to waste this time. What can I do? And so I've actually always wanted to write a book, but never had the time for it. So now that I didn't have Instagram, I was like, maybe now I can write a book. So Emily, I actually wrote a book, the first draft, in 4 days. And I was able to knock that thing out. But the book is basically, it's called the Becoming Booked Method. And basically it's a guide to getting fully booked and profitable in your photography business. And it is, I think it's amazing. It's about 130-ish pages, but it will take a photographer who might be struggling or who might want to, try being more professional or booking or getting paid clients into knowing, okay, what are the stages? What are the steps to get from where you are now to booking more and making more and contributing more to your family? And without all the overwhelm, without all the fluff, all the strategies that I give inside the book, literally can be done without using Facebook ads or honestly even using Instagram. Those are great tools to add on, but that's the fluff. So it's really just about laying that foundation where you can build a sustainable business that will last years into the future.
That's awesome. Where can people grab that from?
So my website, so thebookedphotographer.com/book, and it'll pop right on up.
Perfect. And if you guys don't have pen and paper handy to jot that down really quick, I'm going to make sure that's in the show notes for you, so you guys can just click that and check out Heather's book. And hey, congratulations on writing a book.
Thank you.
You're all kinds of awesome. That is wonderful.
Yeah,
well,
thank you.
Heather, thank you so much for joining us again and sharing all of your knowledge with us. I know that everyone out there appreciates you and appreciates just your realness and your simple way to think about things and build your business. So thanks again, Heather.
Oh, it's an honor. Thank you so much for having me.
It's always a treat having Heather join us on the Stay Focused podcast. I hope that you got a lot of value from Heather and from the episode. And I hope that you go check out Heather's book that she wrote and that it helps you out. And you know what the really cool thing is that I was just thinking about when I was remembering back to the first episode that I recorded with Heather, was that after the episode was over, she was chatting. We were just chatting about our students and our clients and the photographers we help. And she said, you know what? A lot of photographers that start with me still really don't understand things like manual mode or how to get sharp focus in their pictures. And I think that when people get excited, and I know you're excited about business and making money, sometimes people just jump ahead a little too quick and want to jump into business right away. And it can make you feel a little bit frustrated. So if you're a little unsure about manual mode or focus, I'm here to help you out. Make sure to download that free guide I have for you as well, cozyclicks.com/handbook. Make sure that you have a good control and good handle over your camera before you dive into making money and starting your own photography business. All right, you guys, if you like today's show, one last thing. I was just going to end it, but I have one last thing I would love to ask you to do for me. If you have 5 seconds, if you would head over to iTunes, hit the subscribe button, and leave a quick rating and review for the Stay Focused podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. I promise it really takes seconds. And if you're watching this on YouTube, because we now have these on YouTube, so if you're listening on Spotify or Apple right now and you want to check out the actual video of today's podcast, you can on YouTube. So if you're watching it from there and you want to hit the subscribe button on YouTube too, I would also appreciate that. All right, now I'm really signing off, guys. So I will be back again next week. But until then, here's to staying in focus in camera and with your goals. Bye, you guys.